Alright, welcome back to Geometry. Today we're talking about parallel lines and transversals. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what a transversal is. So a line that intersects two or more other lines at different points in a plane is called a transversal. In the figure below, line T is a transversal. Two lines in a transversal form 8 angles. Some pairs of the angles have specific names. The following chart lists the pairs of angles and their names. So, line T here is a transversal because it's cutting through two different lines. It's cutting through line T is cutting through line M, which is here, and line N, which is here. So, and it's cutting through at two different points. So this is called a transversal. So T is called the transversal. Alright, transversal. And so they form 8 angles. So when you intersect these lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And these angles have specific names. And this is going to be very important because when we go further, which you're about to see after this in our example, when a transversal cuts two lines that are parallel to each other, the transversal actually cuts them in a way where all the angles measure up and match up. It's pretty cool. So we're going to see that. So in this case, angle 3, 4, 5, and 6, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right here, they form interior angles. So they're interior. They're bounded by the original lines M and N. 3 and 5 and 4 and 6. So 3 and 5 and 4 and 6 are alternate interior angles. So 3 is an alternate interior angle with 5, and 4 is an alternate interior angle with 6, angle 6. They're bounded by the two lines M and N that are being cut by the transversal, and they're interior. So if those are interior, you can take a guess at what 1, 2, 8, and 7 are going to be. They're going to be some type of, not interior, they're going to be exterior. But the next thing they say is angle 3 and 6. So angle 3 and angle 6, and angles 4 and 5. 4 and 5, these are called consecutive interior angles. So they are consecutive interior angles. Consecutive means next to. 1, 2, 3, those are consecutive numbers with each other. So angle 4 and angle 5, they're consecutive interior because they're on the same side of the transversal on the inside. And angle 3 and 6, they are consecutive interior angles because they are on the same side of the transversal on the interior as well. Angle 1, angle 2, angle 7, and angle 8 are all exterior angles. So 1 and 2, 7 and 8. These are all exterior because they're on the outside of lines M and N. So that leaves us angle 1 and angle 7. They have a relationship. And then we also have angle 2 and angle 8. They have a relationship. They are called alternate exterior angles. So they're alternate sides of the transversal, but they're on the exterior of lines M and N. So 1 and 7, alternate exterior angles. 2 and 8, also alternate exterior angles. And then lastly, we have corresponding angles. So this really works when we have two parallel lines. You can see it so much better. But what it's going to say is angle 1 is corresponding with angle 5. Angle 2 corresponds with angle 6. Angle 3 corresponds with angle 7. and then we'll do blue. Angle 4 corresponds with angle 8. These are corresponding angles. Because if you were to cut this line right here and kind of slide it down, you will see 1 and 5 are in the same spot location, 4 and 8 are in the same location, 2 and 6, and so forth. 3 and 7. So, we're going to go and do an example together. Classify the relationship between each pair of angles as alternate interior, that's 1, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior angles. So, they're saying A, angle 10 and 16 are alternate exterior angles. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my color to green, kind of color code this. And I'm going to circle 10 and 16. So, essentially what's going to happen is this. Let me do this so I can hide this a little bit. So, imagine that this one is not here. Alright? So what we have is N and L are parallel lines, and Q is our transversal here. And they want us to know what is angle 10 and angle 16 to each other. So, first thing we notice is they are on the opposite sides of the transversal, whereas Q is our transversal, right? Q is our transversal. So if Q is our transversal, they're on opposite sides, so that means alternate, right? Alternate. They're on opposite sides. But remember, we look at this area here, angles 12, 11, 13, and 14. They are called interior angles. So these are exterior because they're outside those lines. So what do we have? Alternate sides, exterior angles. So alternate exterior angles. Alright, so now we're going to do B, corresponding angles. We're going to do that in red. So angle 4 and 12. So what that means is angle 4 and 12. Oops. Let me grab this. 4 and 12. So I'm going to circle them in red so we know we're looking at this one. Angles 4 and 12. So what that means is this. We're not even paying attention to this guy here. Alright, so what we have is P and Q are our lines, and N is our transversal in this case. So for this one, N is our transversal. Transversal. I'll just leave it at that. So 4 and 12. So what they're saying is if I cut this line here and I slid this over, what would they be? 12 and 4. They line up in the same spot. So that's why we call them corresponding angles. So they are called corresponding angles. Alright. Let's see. Consecutive interior. We did that in orange. So consecutive interior, and we're saying 12 and 13. So that would mean that we're not looking at the left one now. That one's gone. So 12 and 13. And we notice that they are both on the interior and they're both on the same side. So same side interior meaning consecutive interior angles. So 12 and 13 are consecutive interior angles. So let's see, our last one we did in blue. Angle 3 and angle 9. So in this case, we're not looking at the bottoms. We're getting rid of this in this case. So angle 3 and angle 9, the transversal would be N here, And so what we're looking at, 9 and 3, they're both on the interior of P and Q, so they're interior. They're on opposite sides of the transversal, which means they're alternate. So they're alternate, opposite sides, interior angles. So we're going to go through. So all we're doing today is we're identifying the relationships between these angles. So let's start with, this is our figure up here. And we're going to start with angle 9 and 13. So I'm going to see angle 9 and angle 13. So that would mean that if I'm looking at this section here. That section there for number 9, for number 1. So what we notice, if I were to cut this line right here and I dropped it down, 9 and 13 would correspond with each other. So that's what we're looking for. What are they? They're corresponding angles. So 9 and 13 are corresponding angles. Now let's look at angle 5 and 14. Angle 5 and angle 14. Did I skip something? Oh, you guys, I didn't even answer the question right. Hold up. We're going to go back. Identify the transversal connecting each pair of angles. So for number 1, we have 9 and 13. All we're talking about is what transversal is connecting them. So in this case, the transversal that's cutting through both of those lines is Q. So that's all I'm doing. I'm identifying the transversal. So angle 5 and angle 14. Angle 5 and 14, the line that's cutting through both of those is line L. And then you guys can do number 3, which would be angle 4 and 6. So it's this side. So what line is cutting through that? Well, you're going to have to do that on your own. It was P. So now we're going to classify angles. So now we're going to classify as either alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, or consecutive interior. So I'm going to do a couple of these with you, and then I'm going to leave the rest for you to do. Angle 1 and angle 5. So angle 1 and angle 5. Notice if I were to cut this line right here and I'd slide this down, angle 1 and 5 would line up in the same position. So that means that they are corresponding. You know what? I'm going to just type it because that's going to be easier. So they are corresponding angles. All right. Now let's look at number 5, angle 6 and angle 14. Angle 6 and angle 14. So if I'm looking at it, angle 6 and 14, again, now we're looking from here, this section here. If I were to cut this line and slide it over, you would notice 6 and 14, they line up in the same spot. So these are corresponding angles as well. And you don't have to write angles. You could just say corresponding at this point. So those are corresponding. I'm going to do 2 and 8. Angle 2 and angle 8. So their transversal is P. They're on the alternate side. So the first thing we look at is what side of the transversal are they on? Are they on the same side or different sides? Well, they're on the different sides of the corresponding angles. So these are called alternate, and they're on the outside, so alternate exterior angles. So these are alternate exterior angles for number 6. So that's what you guys are doing. I'm going to do number 8 with you guys now. And we'll do that in orange. Angle 12 and angle 13. First, I'm gonna erase what I've done so that it makes it even easier. So, angle 12 and angle 3. So the transversal is N. They're on the same side and they're on the interior. So what we know is that if they're on the same side interior, then we know that that means they are consecutive interior angles. So they are consecutive interior angles for number 8. Let's do alternate interior. We'll do number 10, 10 now. So number 10, we're looking at angle 6, and we're looking at angle 16. So our transversal would be L here. They're on alternate sides, but they're on the interior. So that's all we need to know. That means that they are alternate interior angles. So you guys have number 7, 9, 12, 11. So you have 5 problems and number 3 to do. If you have any questions, reach out, guys. Have a good one.